So the next speaker is, the topic is improving patient outcomes through perioperative nursing in lung cancer. We have Miss Twinkle Xavier with us. She's BSc nurse from LT College of Nursing. She has done a course of comprehensive operating room nursing from Hinduja Hospital. She has also undertaken the Lead the Way course from AORN at Tata Memorial Hospital. She is presently working in OT since 2017, and she is also has clinical experience of working in OT in Hinduja Hospital. Over to Twinkle.
Thank you, Archana ma'am, for that wonderful introduction. Good morning, everyone, and warm welcome to this Lung Cancer Review Annual Review 2024. So today I am going to deal with the topic about improving patient outcomes through perioperative nursing in thoracic surgery. Thoracic surgery is a very complex surgery which involves the surgery of the lungs, esophagus and chest. So the perioperative nurses, we play a very important role. We bridge the gap between the surgical care team and also the patient-centered care. As Shweta ma'am, she very beautifully explained in her presentation how patient-centered care and multidisciplinary approach improve the patient outcomes through the lung cancer. So let's start. We'll be discussing, I'll introduce the topic and then I'll discuss about various thoracic surgeries, the preoperative assessment, intraoperative management, the postoperative management and as well as the complications. So what is thoracic surgery? As I said before, it is a very complex and it demands multidisciplinary approach because to ensure the optimal patient outcomes. Now in this, perioperative nursing plays a very important role in improving recovery, reducing risk and also enhance the overall patient experience. Various number of studies has been conducted in that the enhanced recovery after surgery, which is the ERAS protocol, which had come recently, it shows that there is an advantage while when ERAS protocol has been followed in the outcome, like in the treatment of the thoracic patients, it has been found that there is the advantage of reducing the morbidity and mortality rates, and it emphasizes on the quality rather than the speed of the recovery. Then various other studies have also shown that effective perioperative nursing care can reduce post-op complications by up to 40% and also the patient readmission of the patients, it is reduced by 30%. Let's see what is thoracic surgery. So there are various kinds of surgeries which are being operated in our setup itself. Starting with the mediastinoscopy, it is a procedure which enables visualization of the contents of the mediastinum. This procedure is done, basically it is done in the operation theatre itself under general anesthesia to remove the lymph nodes for a biopsy purpose, whether the patient's cancer, how much it has been advanced. So inside the OT itself, the lymph nodes has been excised and it is sent to the frozen department, and they give the results whether it has been metastatized or what, and whether the patient should undergo further surgery, which is lobectomy, or if the cancer has been spread, then the procedure has been abandoned. That is, the surgery has been abandoned. So to rule out that, mediastinoscopy is done. Next is the video assisted thoracic surgery, which is a minimally invasive thoracic surgery. In this, it is done with a minimal invasive method. That is, the surgeons has been evolved. They have revolutionized that. Initially it was like the old technique. They used to perform thoracotomy, but now with very small incision, with the help of the laparoscopic instruments and the VATS instruments, they perform the same procedure. So to improve the patient outcomes, how the patient outcomes are improved with the shorter duration of hospital stay, and then the pain control is being managed. So this is another type of thoracic surgery. Then there is lobectomy, bilobectomy. In lobectomy, the entire lobe, for example, now I have shown here the right lobe, right lung, which consists of 3 lobes. In that, the one entire lobe, the containing disease, has been excised, whereas in bilobectomy, both the adjacent lobes of the right lung are removed. Next is the pulmonary wedge resection. In this, a wedge-shaped As you can see at the left hand corner, there is a diagram of the wedge resection. In that, the wedge-shaped section of the diseased or damaged lung has been removed. Next is segmentectomy. Segmentectomy is a surgical procedure which removes a section of the lung which contains the tumor or the surrounding tissue. Next is a pneumonectomy. It is a very difficult surgery. In this, the removal of the entire lung is been involved. Next, we will see what is tracheal resection. In this, the tumor is located in the trachea. So the surgeon remove a portion of the trachea or the windpipe, and after that, the remaining ends of the trachea has been resutured again. The next surgery is the chest wall resection. In that, the tumor has been located in the chest cavity. It could be in the sternum or the rib or the soft tissue or cartilage. So the surgery involves removing all or part of this tumor. Next is esophageal surgery. Esophageal surgery is the surgery involved to remove all or part of the esophagus. Now there are types of esophagectomies. There are various techniques of esophagectomies. We will just look into that. Now, what are the types of esophagectomy? The very common type which is performed is the TT, which is transthoracic esophagectomy. In this, initially, like it is done in two techniques, even in the thoracotomy or as well as VATS, and also laparoscopically, and nowadays surgeon also perform in robotic method, that is robotic assisted thoracoscopic surgery. In this, the patient is placed in the lateral position. Thoracic is visual opened in the following three methods: either thoracotomy or in VATS or as a robotic with the help of robot. So they mobilize the esophagus, and then they remove the surrounding lymph nodes which is associated with it, and then the patient is closed. After that, patient is placed in the supine position, and the tumor has been removed with performing with a minimal laparotomy incision, and then an anastomosis is carried out. Now there are other types of esophagectomy which is done. The other one is transhiatal esophagectomy. In this, the incision is made in the neck and abdomen. Then there is Ivor Lewis esophagectomy, where the incision is made at the abdomen, which the esophagus and the stomach is mobilized, and then the patient is made into the lateral position, and the tumor is removed and anastomosis is done. Then there is McQueen esophagectomy, which is similar to TTE, where the incision is made in the neck, chest and abdomen. Then there is thoraco-abdominal esophagectomy, where the surgeon makes a single incision from the chest to the abdomen on the left side. Now we will see perioperative assessment. Preoperative assessment is very important role in nursing aspects. Preoperative education and all the necessary counseling which we give impact the patient outcome post-operatively. So what are the objectives? Why preoperative assessments are needed? To ascertain the patient's functional reserve, to determine if one can survive. That is, to check whether that patient is able to survive the particular surgery. Then to ensure the optimal condition of the patient of the surgery. Also, the various tests are done. Why the tests are done? To determine the preoperative status of the patient and assess his physical liabilities. Also, we get a baseline for comparison during the post-operative period. For example, in preoperatively we do the baseline spirometry, and so that the surgeon or the surgical team, they can compare post-operatively how much the patient can tolerate that spirometry. So for that, all these preoperative assessments are done, and also to reveal any unsuspected abnormalities. Now, what are the pre-operative evaluations which we look around? There is three major important. Which one? First is the health history. Supriya Sister has very detailedly explained about the pre-operative evaluation, the nursing management. So I will just brief it out. So like we ask for the signs and symptoms like cough, dyspnea, wheezing is there. We take a detailed history whether patient is having any history of smoking, how much he can tolerate exercise, history of any chemotherapy taken pre-operatively, or any previous surgery has been done, allergies is there, or any drug adverse reaction. Everything we ask the patient. We take a detailed health history. Then we perform a physical examination. What all in that include? It includes respiratory pattern, the palpitation, auscultation, and percussion. Respiratory pattern we check for the respiratory rate, and in palpitation we check whether we palpate like anything abnormal is been found or what. In auscultate for any abnormal breath sounds. So pre-operative evaluation is very important to rule out the patients who are undergoing this thoracic surgeries. Then there are certain investigations which is carried out. First is the baseline investigations which include our CBC, viral markers, blood grouping, cross-matching electrolytes, then chest x-ray which is very important for thoracic surgeries. Then for cardiac, to know the cardiac related issues, we do 2D echo, ECG, and for the disease condition we do CT scan. Also to rule out for the respiratory lung function of the patients, we do the pulmonary function test, baseline spirometry, and 6-minute walk test. Now this is very important for the patient to improve the patient outcome post-operatively, optimizing patient preparation. So how we can optimize patient preparation? First is effective patient education. Patient should be educated about the disease condition, about the signs and symptoms, the post-operative pain, and also we should also clarify his or her doubt, whatever regarding the surgeries, the time duration, everything. And also we should encourage the patient, if the patient has a history of smoking, we should encourage them to do a smoking cessation for at least 4 to 6 weeks prior to the surgery. Then next is pre-operative counseling. Patient should be undergone a counseling session where all his doubts has to be cleared. We should provide them psychological support and various groups. They should be enrolled to various groups where there are patients with similar conditions, so they can have their share their thoughts with them, and according this all points improve the patient's outcome post-operatively. Next is encouraging physical activity. We should pre-operatively patient should be encouraged doing physical daily activities like walking, cycling, and then also stretching, some yoga, in order to reduce the stress and anxiety about these surgeries. Pulmonary rehabilitation, which is very important for the patient. Patient should be taught deep breathing exercises, then various techniques of deep breathing exercises like pursed lip breathing, diaphragmatic exercises, the use of spirometry, how they're supposed to use. Everything this should be taught pre-operatively so that the patient's anxiety and the outcome, it improves a lot. Let's see what are the pre-operative preparations, nursing's role and responsibilities. So as you all aware about all the nursing responsibilities, I have just listed down. The main is the NBM status. Patient should be kept NBM from midnight for the surgery. And if the patient is a pediatric patient, so clear liquids are allowed after till 6 a.m. And if the patient is a baby or is breastfeeding, then breastfeeding till midnight, and then after that water till 6 a.m. And the next is a pre-operative preparation. This all key parameters are involved in our OT checklist, which the nurses prepare pre-operatively for the surgery. So then pre-operative preparation includes the physical preparation, that is the patient is being changed to the hospital clothes, no undergarments are allowed, short nails have been kept, no dentures, then the skin has been prepared, hair clipping has been done of the surgical side, bowel preparation has been done. Then there is about pre-operative scrub bath. In that scrub bath is being given at the night, that is at 10 p.m. Previous night, and also in the morning prior to the surgery. Then there are certain key parameters which includes the viral markers has been checked, the blood grouping has been done, blood reservation has been done, and the consents, various consents like surgery consents, anesthesia consent, blood consents, high risk consents. So it is a nurse's responsibility that this all preparation has been done for the patient prior to the surgery. When the patient comes to the ward, this all key parameters have been completed by the nurses in the ward before taking the patient to the operation theatre. Now, what is the pre-operative preparation what we do in OT? When the patient arrives in the OT for the surgery, when patient comes in the wheelchair, so we transfer the patient from wheelchair to OT trolley and make him or her comfortable. We check the patient's identification. We ask the patient his name, confirm it with the ID band and the identification band and with the file. We also ask this surgery, confirm the surgery and the site of the surgery, and also ensure if the site is marked, and then we also do the pre-operative checklist. So everyone is aware of this checklist which we performed in the OT. When the patient comes to the OT, we follow all these key parameters, that is preparation of the patient, whether pre-anesthesia check is done, hygiene, physical preparation, then physical presence of any surgical implant, then if what are the articles been carried, and the nurse, she signs over. There are 3 columns for the nurses to sign, the one from the ward, the OT, and when the patient is shifted to ICU after surgery. Now we will see the intraoperative management. I hope everyone is clear till now. Am I going too fast or? Okay. So we'll see the intraoperative management. Now this is the place where the scrub nurse and the circulating role plays an important role. It is about the preparation of the OT, preparation of the surgeries. I have briefly explained about the surgeries which are being done in our operation theatre. So it is the nurse's responsibility to arrange the instruments, equipment and sterile supplies for surgery. She will ask the surgeon one day prior itself that what are the specific instruments she required for the surgery, whether it is VATS procedure. So if it is a VATS procedure, then she may needs to arrange the laparoscopic cart, a VATS instrument, so she will keep everything ready. She should also know the position of the surgery, whether the patient is being kept as a lateral position or supine position, so that she will inform the technician to keep all the requirements, keep all the essentials for the positions itself. And also she will make sure that the OT is functioning well. If any difficulty, she will inform it to the surgeon itself, like any problem or anything, then she will inform itself. Then when the patient comes to the OT table, the surgical safety checklist has been performed. So in surgical safety checklist, there are 3 parts. That is the sign-in before induction, timeout. I will explain this in detail in the next slide. Timeout, that is before incision, and then sign out, which is done before closure. Now I will explain this later on. And in this and the assisting the surgical team, it is correlated. So what does nurses do in the operation theatre? It is a very complex surgery, so she needs to be prepared for everything. She needs to maintain a calm environment. She can expect any emergencies because lobectomy, pneumonectomies are very difficult cases. So she should anticipate the surgeon and assess the surgeon with instruments, sponge and necessary supplies. She should identify, handle specimens correctly, manage the count, also document it very promptly. Also she should maintain a neat, orderly, sterile field. If any breach in the sterility, then she should correct it before it reaches to the surgeon. This is the surgical checklist which we perform in our hospital. So we have got, as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 parts, and sign-in, which is before induction. When the patient arrives in the OT table, when the patient is on the OT table, in front of the patient, the surgeon, nurses and the anesthetist, they confirm the patient's identity, procedure, whether the site has been marked, consent has been taken. and then viral markers has been checked. Every parameters what we do in pre-operative is been reconfirmed in this first part. Whether viral markers has been done, whether blood has been confirmed, specific instruments are ready or not, preparation of the position has been done or not, whether any infection was present at the incision site, anesthesia safety checklist, if any concern from anesthetist they will address, pulse oximeter has been functioning or not, if any difficult airway, aspiration risk, everything, any known allergies, everything has been mentioned and recorded in this first part. And then before the surgery starts, that is before the incision, we do the second part. In this again the surgeon, anesthesia and the nurses, they verbally confirm the name of the patient, the procedure, the site. Then the surgical team, they will anticipate any critical events, like if there is chances of massive bleeding or any intra change of plans, they will address over here. Anesthesia team, they will address their issues. And then even nursing team, they will also verbally tell whether the counts has been taken properly or corrected, or whether it is recorded. And then antibiotic prophylaxis time is noted, incision time is noted, any imaging displayed is required, or then if any frozen is required, everything has been mentioned in the second part. And then after the surgery is finished, that is before the cavity is closure, we do the third part where the name of the procedure is recorded. Sometimes it happens that the proposed surgery is not what is the surgery at the end. Sometimes the surgeon, they must have planned for a VATS lobectomy, mediastinoscopy followed by a VATS lobectomy. But then after intraoperatively, the patient, after doing mediastinoscopy, they understand the patient's disease has been spread, so they abandon the procedure. The procedure also changes. So it is very important to note the procedure at the end of the day. Then also the nurses, she verbalizes whether all the counts were correct, specimen has been labeled, any equipment problems, whether they will address over here, any post-operative care concerns from the surgical team, anesthesia team, they will address in this surgical safety checklist. Now we will see what is the post-operative management. Post-operative management is very important because there is high risk of post-operative complications like respiratory failures. So if we do a proper post-operative management, it helps us to prevent such complications. So the primary goals of post-operative management is regular monitoring of the respiratory functions, adequate pain control, encouraging deep breathing exercises, early mobilization, then care of drains, incision site, and also preventing of deep vein thrombosis. So what do we do in monitoring of respiratory functions? We assess the vital signs and oxygen saturation monitoring, continuous oxygen saturation monitoring is done. When the patient comes to the recovery area, vital signs monitoring is done every 15 minutes in 1 hour, and then in 30 minutes for the next hour, and then hourly monitoring is been done. Patient is having continuous oxygen saturation has been done. Where sister, she looks for any bleeding, any signs of any leakage or anything, and also patient is being given active nebulization. Patient is being placed in a Fowler's or high Fowler's position. If the patient is intubated, then suction is been required, and if it and also with the nurses, they initiate for the deep breathing exercises and change of position every 2 hourly. This is all important in this aspect. Next is adequate pain control. How the nurses does the pain effect, gives a proper effective pain management is she assesses the pain level as per the pain score scale. If reassure the patient and help them reduce the anxiety level. If the pain is intolerable, then epidural or PCA, that is administration of anesthesia, should be started. Next is encouraging deep breathing exercises. So chest physiotherapy is very important. The patient should have a proper chest physiotherapy post-operatively, and patient should be educated on the cough exercises, like initially I said how deep breathing exercises should be taught. Use of incentive spirometry is also taught to the patients. Then care of drains and incision site. Assess the incision site, drain site for any bleeding, leak, amount or change in color. Check for any signs and symptoms of infections. Palpate the surrounding area for any subcutaneous emphysema. Also keep the dressing dry, clean and intact, and encourage patients to change position, and also so it helps to promote drainage. Now, how do we prevent deep vein thrombosis? Compression stockings are applied. Patients have been encouraged to have early ambulation, as well as leg exercise, ankle exercises are also done. Now, these are the complications of the thoracic surgery. The most common complication is the respiratory failure. I am not going into the detail of the complications. Suprasista has explained in very detail. Hemorrhage, post-operative bleeding, then there are cardiac arrhythmias, MI, pneumonia is one of the other complications. Atelectasis is also another complications. Then there is pulmonary thromboembolic disease are there, bronchopulmonary fistulas also happen. Then there is another complication which also happens are the prolonged air leak. Now, why research is important in this aspect? Because research gives an evidence-based practices. Such as I mentioned in my introduction, there was a research done on ERAS protocol. It helps to reduce the complication, and it also improves the patient's recovery time. It identifies the risk and it enhances the patient's safety. Then some cost-effective, efficient strategies and better personalized care plans are also formed with the help of research for better patient outcome. So this is one of the research which was conducted by Thomas Plyer in July 2024 in Germany. It was a prospective cohort study. What they did was that the objective was to evaluate the implementation of ERAS protocol, and their secondary objective was about specific and clinically relevant, how this implementation, if any problem in the implementation, how recommendations were analyzed regarding their compliance. So they had around 139 patients which undergone elective lung resections. In that, they found out the patients were divided into three groups. One group was the patient-dependent measures which required active participation. It had the lowest compliance, only 49%. That means the patient needs, the recommendation which they gave was that the patient need more preoperative preparation, which involves the education like the smoking cessation, pulmonary exercises, and strong motivation was required in that group. The other group was about the treatment measures requiring interdisciplinary approaches. Some interdisciplinary approaches was used, and the compliance rate was around 86%. Now, what are the interdisciplinary methods they use? This is the ERAS protocol which they followed. See, as you can see, the pre-operatively they did some pre-admission counseling, fluid, carbohydrate loading, then antibiotic prophylaxis, and in intraoperative there was short-acting anesthetic was given, then mid-thoracic epidural. By following all this protocol, a compliance rate of 86% was achieved. And in the third group was the surgical measures. As I explained that they did minimally invasive techniques, and in that around 88% of compliance was achieved. This is another study. It was a retrospective study which was done to evaluate the effect of comfort nursing on post-operative recovery and life quality of patients undergoing thoracic surgery. In this, the patients, around 400 patients were taken, and they were divided into two groups. One is the control group where conventional nursing was given. Now, what all the things that included in conventional nursing was pre-operative nursing, post-operative preventing complications, and the other group was the observed observed group where conventional nursing combined with comfort nursing was given. Along with the conventional nursing, they had given a psychological nursing, then also some pain associated nursing like pain related modalities were used. So they found out that the observed group, they had the lower incident rate of having adverse reaction, less adverse reaction after surgery. Their visual analog scale was also less. The length of stay was less. Basically, the patients in the observed group had more improved recovery and their quality of life were enhanced, and their treatment compliance and their satisfaction was also better than the observed group. So, we're concluding, perioperative nursing is key to improve thoracic surgery's outcome, promoting faster recovery, then reducing risk and ensuring higher quality of care through personalized and evidence-based practice. So, everything what we do, every step what we take a step further for the patient's improvement in thoracic surgery. So, as a perioperative nurse, it is our role we are an advocate of patients. So it is our role to stand in front of for the patient and help them to have a better outcome in the patients which are undergoing thoracic surgeries. Thank you so much.